Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like an Evazine. Blast off, blast off, blast off, blast off. Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like an Evazine. Blast off, blast off, blast off.
Hello, and before we get into the intro, who we have, and the amazing stuff we're going to discuss, I wanted to just kind of touch base and tell everyone we're doing okay after the lightning strike, with a lot of help from our guest, who we are going to hear tonight, Mr. Alan Ginn, head of security at Space Wolf Research, and a lot of help from others. So without further ado, I want to get into what exactly took place. We had a lightning bolt strike a 40-foot RV, and it literally vaporized it and left it to smithereens. I mean, there's nothing left. It was incinerated, literally gobs of metal left over. I think the rims, some of them actually made it, and had to get a roll-away dump type scenario with Bobcat and get it all. I mean, it was heavy equipment and the whole nine. But we got it all figured out, had to cut the 40-foot trailer, what was left of it, into pieces. Okay, let's slow it all up. I really wanted to thank Alan. He's like family. So when he told me the story, you guys are going to hear, your jaws are going to hit the floor. This guy just, he's on track with exactly what people who are targeted with these sorts of entities roaming the landscapes in extremely active areas. This is exactly what you would expect. It's kind of goes with the territory. So, Alan is no stranger to harm. He is a veteran, multi-year veteran. The guy's not scared of much. He's seen war times problems. He's engaged in battle type scenarios. Anyway, I don't want to let too much out of the bag, but when dealing with entities that are non-human, shapeshifters, skinwalkers, and the like, and these areas, the audio really kind of sucks in this area. We had technical difficulties. Our microphone broke down. We were outside, literally in shapeshifter territory, with a laptop is how we recorded this. So I'd like to apologize for the sounds or lack of quality. And you know who I am. Hello everyone, this is Ryan, the original Space Wolf of the airwaves, bringing you a VIP episode of HEROparanormal podcast. And tonight, broadcasting from the center of high strangeness in the Uinta Basin, shapeshifter territory. That's correct. We're talking all kinds of goodies coming tonight. And if you haven't checked out HEROparanormal.com, please do drop by and check it out. You'd be amazed what $1 a month will get you. And a lot more episodes that other people don't get. Also, if you want to donate just once, don't want to do the recurring, just do it once, then hit cancel, you're done. That easy. We're the best deal in the game, in my opinion, with solid content. In times like these, it's easy to forget that a lot of crazy that we hear about on TV actually exists in real life. Not to say that a lot of the media frenzy we see on TV is absolute malarkey. However, some of it actually exists, and we can come into contact with it. At a local hardware store, of all places, I had an angry old curmudgeon of a man tell me to get 6 feet away from him in line. He was the only guy in the whole area. He was checking out, and he'd been there for quite a while. I stepped up and stood on the little sticker 6 feet away and didn't move. However, he told me to stay 6 feet away from him. First of all, my feet were on the stickers. I was amazed. Of course, we all haven't really mastered this, and I assume Actually, this old man was in fear for his life. I was beyond 6 feet away and heckled him a bit, then left because I really didn't want to be around someone so mean. Damn COVID. Oh well, back on track. Our guest today is the opposite of mean and really goes deep into moving into Skinwalker territory full time. That's exactly what he's done. He is none other than Alan Ginn. Mr. Ginn is head of security for SWR, and he does Space Wolf research a great job. He is a seasoned military police officer and served our country for many years. I can't go into some of the cool stories he's told me. Maybe he will one day. I have high regard for this gentleman. He has been an esteemed teacher, held in extreme high regard at the Fort Duchesne High School and also at the Duchesne High School. The locations that we broadcasted from were both outside, noisy, and here it is live. Here, just, very close to the epicenter of the basin and near a cemetery, believe it or not, that was featured on Alien Highway Episode 1, a cemetery that, with other individuals, I've come across, let's just say, suspect behavior from interesting and occult, ritualistic type behavior late at night in certain areas. But without going into all that, we're going to talk to somebody who is actually living right here, right now, all the time, full time. It's the head of security for our science project, Space Wolf Research, Mr. Alan Ginn. Welcome to HEROparanormal.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. And I appreciate your interest in my episode with the, I believe now that they were ghosts. And, then I was talking to Brandy Wager, who's like she's into it about ghosts. And she goes, it could be true because you live right next to the cemetery where there's unnamed caskets. They're unnamed graves. And I go, okay, well, thank you. I got to talk to Ryan. I said, Ryan will set this straight if it's to be. So then I talked to Ryan, and Ryan also said that it could, nothing affirmative, but it could be the ghosts from the cemetery who are wondering if they could identify with the living. And who's living in their home that their ancestors have lived in for hundreds of years, well, since 1975, but this area. Yeah. It was strange, but the first night, a lady came and awoke me, and I thought, I don't know, I thought it was a skinwalker. I actually did think it was a skinwalker, but she looked at me and she was all, and maybe in her 50s, and she looked at me, and then went away. And because I said a prayer. I'm going to be truthful with you. I prayed to Jesus to send the ghost out of my home. Then I went to sleep. The next night, this is only the first and second night I slept in this home. And the second night I slept in this home, an Indian lady came with her regalia on, and she looked. She didn't get close because I locked that door. I locked my door, so I and it's quite a way. It's about 35 feet, I guess, from my bedroom. I live in a big haunted house. From my bedroom to where the Indian lady was standing was probably maybe 35 feet. And never mind, I grabbed my home security, and I came out, and then she just disappeared to the right. I think went out my dining room. Didn't have to break anything. She just went and went back somewhere, probably to the grave. But she was heading that way. But now that I think about it, but anyway, it's. I'm not afraid of ghosts because I have Jesus Christ as my personal Savior, and God created everything. People ask me, they go, "Hey, I'm going to tell you the truth. You're a Christian. Why do you go after Bigfoot? Why do you go? If you're a Christian, And I tell them this because God created everything. Who could say God can't create a giant? Because He has. I mean, there's. Anyway, so that's my story.
I think you touch on something really important, which is, I try not to go down the Bible beating path too much, but a really good point, I believe, is that there is other powers other than us, and like you said, a higher power, obviously, other than us. And those who believe, those who don't. Without getting into that, I know some listeners aren't into that, but that to each their own. And just be open-minded. But in all reality, I think it's very powerful that you saw an entity in, as you mentioned, the traditional historical dress. And that, in my opinion, is very powerful because that historically is an expression of a mode of self-expression historically that is used with responsibility and pride and has a lot of affiliations with background and interests in the tribe. Was it typical wear? Was it breechcloths, buckskin shirts, deerskin dresses, the fringes, animal robes? What did you see?
Yeah, the beads.
The
beaded.
Yeah.
All beaded. What a regalia.
What about shawls or headbands or
just
breastplates?
She had a headband with a feather in it.
Oh, wow. Like a full headdress.
No.
Just a headband.
Headband with a single feather.
Cool. That's awesome. Oh. Yeah, that's very powerful given this location. This location is so strategically placed in the epicenter of the basin near the Duchesne rivers. There are other waterways there's irrigation waterways, there's private ranches, Native American land. It's a checkerboard mix of private property and reservation, and really it just works. A lot of people say, how does that work? Well, let's go back into the 1800s and realize where it was then. It wasn't working too well then, but time kind of heals all wounds, and actually these communities are very tightly knit, and the natives and locals are one and the same as far as commonalities and goals and interests and how they treat each other. So there's not a whole lot of, the disrespect and stuff that you see in inner cities within different populations of different races. You just don't see that. It sounds really weird, but you really don't see that kind of racism out here. It's different. But there's a different kind of racism which is everywhere. But for the most part, the res and the private really kind of merge well. And everybody knows where the Indian land is, everybody knows where the private land is. But that's why we're able to, without pinpointing where we are, Alan has a great spread here overlooking, what is this, like 100 acres back here.
A square quarter mile.
A square quarter mile. And I mean, just a great house, great place. It just perfectly placed next to these badlands and cemeteries that go for 50 miles, 100 miles.
Oh,
easy.
Oh, easy. And then the view, you get the view of a farmland. You get the view of the riverfront. You get the view of the Badlands. I love the Badlands.
Yeah.
And then you get a view of the high Ashleys and a view of the Uintas, the Rocky Mountains. The Rocky Mountains. Amazing.
It is amazing. And it's really, you'll see total opposites, stark opposites. You'll see a 100-year-old or older pioneer cabin next to a multi-million-dollar home, next to a trailer, next to an RV, next to a regular home. It's just like that. You just, whatever. It's like buckshot thrown at a wall. It's just wherever it lands is where it lands. And so everybody just kind of gets along. It's easier that way. But that being said, you're able to be in dynamic situations like Alan is here, in my opinion, where he has all the benefits of city living, yet he, in an instant, 5 minutes, he can go walking and be at a tree line where anything could possibly exist beyond there. And we were just actually discussing how that's really kind of how these things work. That's where they are commonly seen, as tree lines, ridges, waterways. Getting back to what you saw, Alan, seeing the Native American aspects and ritualistic historical importance of what the entities you saw were wearing, this reminds me so much of a story. Without giving the guy's name, he is what the Bourne Ultimatum movie series is about. And he looked me up. I don't know how he found me, but he stayed at the bed and breakfast back when I used to run it. And it was pretty amazing. His career in the military was so impressive. And if you've seen the Bourne Ultimatum movies, you know this isn't a guy you want to mess with. His hands looked like they could just crush my arms. But really nice guy. And he had a situation where, very similarly, he had land down near Kanab, Utah. I hope I'm not letting too much information out. A cabin down there, and he had one of these Native American entities or presences. He kind of said it was like a ghost, and it had this traditional dress on, very similar to your experience. Wow. And he said it changed his life, and that's why he came, and he was really getting into the whole Uinta Basin shapeshifter aspect of some of the Native American tradition. But getting to your sighting and what went down, kind of go into the details of, was there window peering? Was it a full moon, do you remember? Was it a new moon? Was there no moon? Was there in between?
Now that kind of information I'd have to look up, because I'm early to bed, early to rise, man, and sometimes, believe it or not, I'm in bed because if I work, do some work all day, I get home, and I'm in bed by 7 o'clock, and I wake up at 5 in the morning.
And so, Alan doesn't work like Zoom meetings for 30 minutes in between Starbucks cappuccino breaks. It's like hard work. He busted his butt all morning, then met me out at SWR. We painted a new Faraday cage, observation deck type cage to protect any electronics in the future in case lightning strikes twice. For those that didn't hear, lightning struck Space Wolf Research and burned down the 40-foot RV, incinerated it. It just vaporized it. It's gone. And it also destroyed a good section of the cabin there at base camp. But we are fixing the cabin, and we have brought in a steel container, a Connex, that we're going to retrofit as a Faraday cage with 4 lightning grounds into the earth. Because if this happens again, which this is a weird country, it could. Everybody says, what are the odds? And I beg to differ. I say, well, where are we at? So it depends on your perspective. But we're trying to play it safe. We have our caretakers that are a good, how many yards, Alan, away?
150, 200.
Yeah, 150, 200 yards away from where this lightning struck. They have a newborn child, so their safety is very paramount to us, and we're also adding lightning posts / flagpoles throughout the property to try to deflect if this happened again. Now, the whole lightning thing, there's been some looking into that. Big thanks to Adamantium LLC for shooting us some images that correlated with our images, and well, it's mayhem what took place. But it is a natural disaster. At the same time, I know some of you have seen images and added infrared filters and have sent me some pretty cool images of what appear to be crafts in the same shots that we're seeing online. So we don't know if that's a smudge on the screen. It could be anything. It could be a low-flying cloud. It does look like a craft. I'm going to agree with you guys, but it could just be an anomalous. You got to figure this. I don't even know how many volts or watts we're talking about. A lot of electricity. We even hood. If you look online, there's another bolt coming off of that bolt, striking nearby. The one that incinerated the RV, I would say, was a good 12-foot, 10-foot, 12-foot lightning bolt. And, I mean, the ground, it's like scorched earth. It's just gone. It looks like a laser beam hit.
Unbelievable.
But Alan has been busting his, to not go too tangential, worked his butt off today, cleaning up, painting the new Connex, getting everything retrofitted. We're going to have it up and running hopefully soon and be safer than before. But this stuff happens. I mean, you don't get into this without expecting the worst. So, you know, a lot of people are like, man, you're taking this kind of in stride, aren't you? And it's like, well, no. And, you know, it's kind of what this is the water that we're wading in.
Excuse me, though, Ryan.
Yeah.
You say Alan busted his butt. You were right there busting your butt. Don't give me all the credit.
But it was a long day. So, yeah, it's not easy work that Alan does, but he does it often. And getting back to the entities that you got to figure, this is the first night that he came to a property that had been vacant for quite a while. And it is near boundaries, native land, private land. A cemetery is within a 1-minute walk or run. And 100-acre amazing view in the background looking at the Hyuinas. So he is right in a place where these entities could creep in from all sides is what I'm trying to get to. But kind of go into was there peeking in the windows? Was it actually in the home?
Oh, no. It was in the home. I was laying in my bed, and probably 1:30 in the morning is when the first woman looked into my room.
So it was a female.
It was a female, yeah. And like in the 50s or whatever. And the strangest thing is, I met a lady, and her name was Rose, and we became instant friends. I did a little fix-it for her, but we became instant friends. And lo and behold, her sister is buried in that very cemetery.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that throws a whole other interesting twist into this. That throws a whole other interesting twist into this. So
and that's her.
Whoa.
That's her sister who came to visit me. And I'm going to tell Rose, and she's going to agree. She's going to agree 100%. She's going to, that was my sister visiting you. Whoa. So I know as intriguing as the Indian lady in her regalia, her powwow specials. Oh, yeah.
Now, what you say that she was dressed in the Native American dress?
Yeah, it was all beaded.
Was it kind of like a metamorphosis? Did it change? Did she ever not have that on? Or was there any shifting at all? Did she physically transform through an inherently superhuman ability? Was she floating in the air? Was she doing anything that was like humanly impossible?
Well, yeah, she flew off like like a witch. This whoosh. She wasn't a witch,
right?
But she just just levitated and flew off. I didn't get down here in time to see her go through the window.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because the ability to physically transform through an inherently superhuman, divine / manipulation, whether it's sorcery or spells or divine or shamanism, that is very common or historically when people speak about these things, it's very common for these entities to do superhuman things. Like, people will say, it was just looking right through my window, but we're up here, like I'm looking out your window, Alan, and we're up on a second story and it's probably 8 feet down. There's like examples where people are like saying that these entities are looking at them from elevations that humans would need a ladder or would be floating. A jetpack.
Yeah.
Anything like that going on?
No.
Okay.
Her feet weren't on the ground.
She was floating.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was a little bit. A little bit.
When I came out my bedroom,
A little bit going on.
Like I said, that night I locked my door.
But it seemed perfectly normal, probably.
Then
right?
I had my home protection device,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I came. The house down there ways, And anyway, so I come out there, and she was floating.
Yeah.
And, she was just like this.
Yeah.
And then the minute I took one step toward her, gone.
And Alan is in a position here where if anything was coming towards his house, he is like in a position where he could easily shoot it, and he's all Wi-Fi'd up and cabled up, so it's not like he's in a remote rustic cabin without connectivity or the ability to have security. Anyway, but there's did this happen just once, and was there more than one? Anything else show up that night?
None.
Okay.
The first night was Rose's sister. Oh gosh. Yeah.
You think maybe could have been.
Oh, when Rose hears about it,
Yeah.
she's gonna say, my sister. But anyway, and then the second night was and then like I said, I prayed to Jesus, so that's on the third night nothing shows up, and I slept ever since then. I sleep like a log, and there's been no other occurrences.
Right. And I wanted to kind of get back to if anybody's saying, well, it could have been anyone, maybe it's somebody trying to play a trick on him, debunk this in any way. To put this into a little perspective, since I have been staying with Alan, which has been the last couple days, I haven't seen one car drive by. Not one car.
No, you won't.
Not one.
You won't.
And it's like he lives in he's I'm not going to go into it anymore.
It's a dead end road.
No, nobody has any business being down here. So it's really hard to debunk this because he's really sure of what he saw.
Yeah, definitely.
But at the same time, it seems surreal. Did it seem kind of like a dream? You know what I mean? Like that lucidity where...
No.
Okay.
Because, you know me, I'm trained in security. And
right.
When something happens, I just spring right into action. I'm alert.
Yeah. And to clarify, Alan doesn't drink. He's alert. But this thing, like he said, he goes to sleep early, he wakes up early, so he's sharp as a tack. I don't want to call it a thing because it might be Rose's sister, but the proximity to the cemetery, if she's buried there,
spirit.
That's a possibility.
That's a spirit.
That's a possibility.
I'm going to find her grave.
We should find it.
I'm going to put flowers on it.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Amen. Tomorrow.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, we got to honor her.
Something good is coming out of this. I like it. The power of,
we got to honor. You got to meet Rose.
It's not called HEROparanormal for nothing. We will definitely. Whoa, what is that?
It's my air conditioner.
Oh, that is, isn't it? Everything that you've heard so far, and we apologize about the sound, the audio, but you're probably hearing crows in the background and birds chirping and a river. That's probably because we're right here. But that's the price you pay to have, on location. I kind of like it. I like it. I rather have a little less quality audio and be on location. Actually, and I'll add some images too. Getting back to this particular location, this cemetery, a particular event that reminded me a little bit about how serious this can become is it's possible for some of the people interred in these cemeteries to not necessarily be resting in peace, because there are members of, well, I guess we would just call it what it is, the witchery way, which is a way of, it's a dark path of sorcerism and using occult methodology to coerce elementals and familiar spirits into, and with reckless abandon, we'll get into that later, the magical aspects, but you're coercing these entities initially to help you with certain aspects and goals that you have, and eventually they become, like I said, familiars, and they pass down from generation to generation. So you literally have like these entities that are working for these family bloodlines in these shapeshifter communities. A lot of people say, Ryan, you're full of it. This doesn't exist. Okay, I get that you believe it doesn't exist. But there is a lot of power in the fact that, as I was about to go into, we've come across individuals actually digging up things, and I should say allegedly participating in this behavior. When we did come across this, and I was with some other researchers as well. Those who were there know who you are. I believe, well, Rick knows. We'll go into a last name. But yeah, we came across this couple of people coming out of the cemetery late at night, 3 in the morning. I'll just say it. Rick Williams was one of the guys that was with us. And this isn't the first time this has happened. But the initial thing is, what are they doing in the cemetery that late, where you can be digging things up and appear to be doing that sort of behavior? Not my place to judge. We looked away as these people drove by. Obviously we spooked them. We didn't engage whatsoever, and we tried to be as respectful as possible, because it's not my business what someone else's religion is. So getting back to what we were getting back to, it's possible that some of the spirits at this cemetery may not be resting in peace if they're being tampered with you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Well, naturally, they weren't even identified when they were buried.
Yeah, tons of unmarked graves. Tons.
Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I had a Skinwalker experience at the B&B, and I told you about that.
Mm-hmm. Can we go into that at all?
Yeah. Well,
would you be okay with that?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. So I'm painting. I was watching 2 contractors paint at Ryan's house and at the B&B, and where there's been Skinwalker sightings there, and everything. Anyway, so at that point of my experience with abnormalities or extraterrestrial or any experience like that, I had none. And so that night, though, the painter was painting over the front door, J.D. Taylor, and he...
Shout out to JD. We were actually talking about you earlier today, but anyway, we'll get back to the story.
Yeah, so he was blocking the door with his ladder, and I said, "Hey, JD, did you hear my truck door open?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Well, what the heck's going on?" So he got down and he moved the ladder, then I went out the front door. And when I went out there, my door was shut, but not all the way. The interior light was still on in my truck. So I just went over and shut the door, and I went back in. JD goes, what's that? I said, "Was that a Skinwalker?" He goes, "Yeah, we're just joking." He goes, "Yeah, it was." And I go, "He's probably hitching a ride." I go, "Oh, yeah, cool." So anyway, he's probably 11 or so, past my bedtime, and I took off, went home. And when I went home, I get out of my truck, shut the door, go inside, go to my room, get washed up, laid in my bed, and then I laid in my bed. I mean, I usually don't shut my door unless I see a skinwalker, then I shut the son of a gun. But anyway, I saw the strangest figure ever, black. As soon as light hits him, he's gone. That was weird.
Interesting. So it was like there was a metamorphosis. They call that, well, it's a shift, but it's a morph, a metamorph, or what they call a morph. A common trope in conspiracy theories, modern fantasy, children's literature, popular culture, you name it. People are really up into this shapeshifter thing. I have a 19-month-old, and when she does watch TV, we try to not let her, but she loves Sophia. And it's like this Disney thing. I never really paid attention until, well, as a parent, you're right there with the kid till you watch your first one, and you realize that this stuff is deeper than just kids' cartoons. Sophia is a shapeshifter, and this is a Disney cartoon, and she's not the only one. In Moana, I think there's a shapeshifter, another Disney, very mainstream children's cartoon advocating the shapeshifter technology, at least in occult practice and legendary lore of certain traditions and cultures. And this is interesting because, as you know, Disney was a 33-degree Mason. He was aware of a lot of secret teachings that the majority of the population weren't. Among those, possibly magical practices that would at least lead him down the path of being okay, or those of his staff, which he would employ in the future, being okay with this type of thing. There's a lot of people that go into conspiracies with Disney, and there's a lot. I don't want to go down that pathway yet. I'm not an expert in that whatsoever. But just on my own, watching stuff with my 19-month-old, I mean, who would guess that there's all these shapeshifters in the stuff we're watching? It's interesting. So it's definitely starting to take predominance in modern culture. And now with the History Channel's The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, I think we're going mainstream. It was like, this hypodermic needle of possibility being injected into the mainstream of the United States that doesn't really believe in this sort of thing. Do you think that's going to change with people watching the, TV or watching like the Alien Highway episode about the shapeshifters?
Yeah, it's like my friend Brad Gallup, probably very, very into about any subject you could think of. He has an answer for. So let's just put it that way. Mm-hmm. And you talk to him quite often, and you told me the other day that you're impressed
by his. Oh my gosh!
With his knowledge.
His really, really, really not. I was blown away because, he took it there. We just kept talking, and he knew what I was talking about, and I knew what he was talking about, and the parlay of deep conspiracy was very, casual, and it was nice. It was kind of nice, bouncing ideas back and forth in an open-minded way. But getting back to like the whole, human turning into an animal, the shape-shifting, or any kind of advanced ghost being able to do these things, this stuff's turning into like a thing.
Let's get to my reference back to the Bible. The Bible describes monsters that haven't even arrived yet. So this is
that's true.
So these skinwalkers, they're cool people. They're not bad. They're nothing. The skinwalkers are nothing, and Bigfoot are nothing that is yet to come. That is yet to come. Because what is whoa.
Right. Well, we all know that like the apocalypse, and we've seen a lot of cases where people think it's coming. I mean, the Four Horsemen, 5G. We got, what don't we have? The Wuhan conspiracy, the Vegas shooting, the 9/11 conspiracy. We got the whole truth movement that came out of that. We have flat earthers don't like to go down that path, but they are rejecting the status quo, which hats off to that. Getting to the fusion of where shape-shifting and all of this is combined.
And wrapping up for our regular listeners.
I mean, every culture has had a version of a shapeshifter, and to go down the list, we have the berserker, the werebear, the animagus, the werecat, the werehyena, the skinwalker, the wereshark, the nanu, the werewolf, which everybody knows, the puka, the nagal, the liraj, the wendigo, werecoyote, werejaguar, odion, merpeople, nereus. The list goes on, and we're talking everything from Norse culture to from the top of the planet to the very bottom of the planet. Every culture has a shapeshifter. Why do they have these, or why do they have these entities that are able to do superhuman things like float in the air, interact with you when you were sleeping, wake you up, let you know they're there? Entities that are suspect of being animated in some way, shape, or form after death. Not that it's like, it could just be a ghost, but still it's animation. It's a really good energy.
I do. Now,
Yeah.
after the third day.
Do you think they were just kind of like looking around, like seeing like who's the new guy?
Yeah, I don't know. It was like I'm experiencing getting different vibrations every day from the coming from the.
You haven't been here long, too.
No.
We don't have to go. He hasn't been here long. Beautiful home.
I've only been here 4 months, I think.
Yeah.
But after the third day, I haven't. But I know it may sound strange, but there's big animals. I mean, huge animals by the river there.
Really?
Because no one's down there.
It looks like somewhere where something could easily live.
There's some. When you go back there, this place has not been touched. Because it's in its natural state.
Yeah.
And anywho.
Oh man. Looking out here, all I want to do is like set up like a home base here and like put cameras facing that way and audio and anyway, we may do that because this place is very likely just as it's looking pretty cool. But so far, so good, though. I think Alan has done a pretty good job of explaining what he saw. And, I mean, the proximity to this place, you could literally throw a Frisbee and hit it if you're a really good Frisbee thrower. Or a golfer. You could definitely hit a golf ball to it. What do you think, 400 yards away as the bird flies?
And what I wonder is how many of my neighbors were buried there. That's another fact that I have to.
We should walk up there.
Yeah.
If we those dogs won't kill us. If we walk up the road, will they? Maybe. Will they get us?
No.
Okay.
No.
So
we could walk up there. We could
walk up there and maybe find her grave.
We could take the Can-Am right there too, and that get us here quicker.
Let's do it.
All right,
cool guys. We will touch base, and thanks for listening in.
Man, Alan is one of the best guys I personally know. Love the guy so much. I couldn't be happier with everything he does. And you could tell Alan just wants to understand what's going on and wants to do the right thing. It's just the kind of guy Alan is. And that's why he's head of security at Space Wolf Research. I couldn't be happier. Thanks for listening in, guys. We will let you know what we find out about this odd goings on and these strange visitors in the night paying Alan a visit when he first moved in. Cameras hopefully will be set up, and maybe we will catch a little snooping or peeping or something by these interdimensional entities. I could only hope so. Thanks for listening in, guys. Until next time, keep your eyes to the skies, feet on the ground, but don't forget, to take a look around.
Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like an Visine. Blast off, blast off, blast off, blast off. Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like an Visine. Blast off.